talking with Till Guldimann of SunGard, and you're going to give us kind of a good overview of some of the changes that are driving the financial markets right at the moment. So, what is driving change right now?
Well, for me, Liz, it's when you look out 3 to 5 years, there's a couple of mega trends, and I would classify them into kind of 3 areas. Number 1, economics. Economic growth differentials create financing volumes. So that's good for the financial industry. Number 2, it's regulatory stuff. All the governments and regulators try to prevent the last crisis. And third, don't never forget that, it's technology. It's over again, over again.
So maybe we can go into some more detail on your 3 points. I mean,
okay.
How is the industry responding to these changes in economic growth?
Well, economic growth simply creates very dramatic financing needs. There are some countries which grow faster and do more exports, therefore they accumulate capital. And the capital is used by the other countries who do the other side. And the banking industry and the capital markets stand in between. So the bigger that divergence is in growth, the larger the capital needs.
Okay.
And then you see where are the investments in the financial industry, and clearly you see it more in the emerging markets. So more underwriting and more investments in the financial industry.
So I mean, in this current regulatory environment, is the industry responding in the best possible way for the current economic conditions?
Well, the industry doesn't have much of a choice. They have to respond. The question is, are the regulators responding properly to their mandate, or to the changed mandate, which is, prevent another future crisis to happen like we had before? Very hard to prevent a future crisis if you don't know where it's coming from. So the only way you handle this is you try to prevent the last crisis, which of course is not optimal. But what we see is a very clear intent to throw more capital or have higher capital requirements on everything financial. That makes the financial industry more costly, and it also drives certain activities outside the financial industry into the gray markets. So the question for me is, how much higher will the costs be for the financial industry, and what will move to the gray markets, and how can the gray markets then be regulated?
Interesting. So I mean, I want to maybe end off with how you mentioned technology. So what role does technology play in all these changes?
Technology, we should not forget, is accelerating in the speed of development. What we can do today is unthinkable, was unthinkable even 5 or 10 years ago. So, and we have to project that forward. Think today the unthinkable in 5 years. What would the corollary to an iPad be in 5 years in everybody's hand? And I don't think we are capable of actually doing this. But what we see is very clearly that the impact of technology is far more pronounced in the retail area than it is in the institutional area. Whereas we see the impact of regulation to be far more pronounced on the institutional area, we see the impact of technology far more pronounced on the retail area.
Interesting. Thank you very much.
You're most welcome, Liz.